and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news. And as always, we've got plenty to talk about. As you can see from the title of the video, Manchester United have made contact with AC Milan Wonderkid Francesco Camarda in relation to a potential first-time professional contract for the kid. He's yet to sign a professional contract with AC Milan, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about Fabrizio Romano speaking yesterday on the United stand and potential links with Manchester United and Ivan Toney in the summer. We know Manchester United are going to be in the market for a striker, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We also want to talk a little bit about Erik ten Hag and his future and who exactly is going to decide his future, because there has been reports from Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News suggesting that it's going to be the new CEO, Omar Barada, that's going to be in charge of whether Erik ten Hag stays or goes. You know, there has been reports suggesting it may be Dan Ashworth. We'll get into a little bit about that as well. And I also finally want to talk a little bit about the new Manchester United away kit. There has been images that have been leaked. I like it. That's all I'll say, but we'll get into that in a moment as well. But before all that, guys, please do smash a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, get your comments into the comment section below and we'll go through them. Neverworld is in and Oshin is there as well. Good to see you guys. But I want to start off, guys, with this. Manchester United make a very important offer for AC Milan Wonderkid Francesco Camarda. Now, this guy was he's the youngest ever player to play a game in Serie A. And he's hot. He's a hot prospect. Let's go down through it. Manchester United have reportedly made a lucrative offer to land 16-year-old AC Milan wonderkid Francesco Camarda. It is thought that United were set to miss out on Camarda, who was tipped to sign his first professional contract with Milan. Camarda wrote his name in the history books back in November when he became the youngest player ever to appear in a Serie A match at just 15 years and 260 days. It's crazy when you think about it. The teenager is widely considered to be one of the hottest prospects Italian football has to offer at the moment. In addition to United, the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, PSG and Real Madrid are also mentioned to be interested in the kid. The expectation was that Camarda would go on to sign his first professional contract with Milan once he turns 16, but this is yet to happen. According to Calcio Mercato, it is no longer guaranteed that Camarda will pledge his long-term future to AC Milan. The publication states that United have made a very important offer to lure the player to Old Trafford. Look, I love hearing these kind of things. I really do. It's not one for the here and now, and he's not going to be a player that we're going to nab in the summer and put him straight into the first team or to back up Rasmus Højlund, for example. I think the more likely outcome is that if we were to nab a player like this, that he would potentially go out on loan for a couple of seasons, get some experience. However, you do have to say that, you know, he's already playing in Serie A. He's playing for AC Milan. And, you know, but again, you always have to be careful about rushing players in. This kid is only 16. I mean, he's got probably 5 years before you would expect him to be week in, week out playing. Now, again, that all depends on the talent the kid has. And look, I think the more likely outcome is that you would bring him in, you would integrate him in maybe with the underage setup. If he's good enough to go out on loan maybe in a year or two, then that may be the case. We've seen it being done in the last few years, obviously, with Alejandro Garnacho. We nabbed him, I think he was 15. Was he 15, maybe 16, when we got him from Atletico Madrid. And you know, we know the one strength that Manchester United have continued to have over the last 10 or 15 years, ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left, you would say, is the strength of bringing through players through the academy. I think it's quite clear that you can bring in a young player like this kid and actually just let him play in the underage teams and he will develop quite well. Again, it's all down to mentality and so on and so forth. But I mean, when you hear the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, you know, Chelsea, Arsenal, City, the usual, this kid obviously has got what it takes. It really does. Now, there was reports suggesting that his camp has kind of fallen out a little bit with the director of AC Milan, who nonetheless is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you know, so I don't think Zlatan is taking too much crap either. Whatever the case may be there, this kid is certainly hot property, and it would be great to see Manchester United getting somebody like this. and we mentioned it yesterday about United being linked with the player from Boca Juniors, the centre back, albeit he's a little bit older, 18 years of age. He's probably more ready to just come in and and play maybe a backup role within the squad. This is the kind of transfer news that I like hearing about Manchester United, and I think it's in no small part down to maybe the change in tactics from the board now and from the Ineos and Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth once he comes in and Jim Ratcliffe, so on and so forth, that it's long-term planning rather than going out and reactionary buying when you're going out and spending 60, 70, 80, 90 million on players. While, again, like I mentioned yesterday, I think we will have to do that at certain stages, and I think maybe every transfer window, maybe every second transfer window, you'll probably be looking at going out and having a marquee signing that might be 60, 70 million. Just filtering through these little small behind the scenes kind of transfers of young lads like this, Alejandro Garnacho, for example, nobody knew who he was when he first signed for United. And it took a couple of years until he got into the youth team. And then obviously they won the FA Youth Cup before people really started to take notice. So I'm liking all of this kind of stuff coming out from Manchester United, and the longer it goes on, the better. Like I said before, I think it will take a few years for this conveyor belt to start producing results. But if you're continuously looking to sign the best young players in Europe at 15, 16, 17 years of age, then, in 2 or 3 years' time, you're going to have a production line there of good young kids coming through the academy. Now, Manchester United do produce good kids regardless, but that shouldn't stop us from going out and trying to sign the best players in Europe, regardless of what age they are. If they're 15 years of age or if they're in their prime at 25, United should be in the market for them regardless. Oshin says, can't see Tony playing second fiddle. Is this the re-emergence of 4-4-2, or is Ineos undermining Ten Hag? We'll get into Ivan Toney now in a second. He also says, Kamara, to me, smacks of agent talk. Listing all those clubs is just to get a few extra zeros from AC Milan. It may be the case. But I like, regardless of whether we actually get him or not, I'm liking what I'm hearing from, like, if you go back at even last summer, the summer before, and the players were being linked with, just legacy players. I'm liking the positivity that's surrounding United, and we're always going to be linked with, the world and their grandmother. So you have to take the rough with the smooth, but I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of who United are actually being linked with and the positivity around it within the media and the fan base as well. Neverworld says, absolutely bonkers, that record. Agree, he would come in the door and float back out the door on loan. That's exactly it, says Neverworld. It's funny how there aren't other teams that aren't Champions League winning teams named for a lad who is not on a professional contract. Yeah, well, again, look, you've got teams that are, every top club in Europe has got their scouts, the spider web of scouts throughout Europe and throughout the world. And when you're in the mix and you're in the conversation for a young player that is being linked with all of these other teams, it can only be a positive thing. It does make it extremely more difficult to actually get the player signed, but it's good that we're been linked with it. And the fact that these reports are suggesting that Manchester United have already made an offer to him is good. Now, that certainly means that if United have done it, then, probably Real Madrid and Man City and Chelsea and whoever else may be have probably already made him offers as well. But I want to move it on a little bit, guys, while we're on the striker topic, and talk about Ivan Toney. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano was on the United stand yesterday, and he was asked about Ivan Toney. He said Ivan Toney could be a good opportunity for Manchester United this summer. Again, when it comes to Ivan Toney, I think he's a fantastic footballer. I think he would come into Manchester United, I think he would do really well. But we're in a dilemma at United at the moment when it comes to strikers. Rasmus Højlund has come in and he's doing really, really well in his first season. Obviously, he had a difficult start, but he's hit the ground running the last couple of months, and I've been really, really happy with him. This is going to throw a spanner in the works. Now, again, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. Competition is vital for clubs that want to go on and win the big trophies. I'm convinced by it. You cannot have Very rarely do you see teams winning major trophies that have got no options after an 11, you would say. Now, if you were to look back at Leicester City, for example, they basically started the same 11 week in, week out, and they stayed injury-free, and that was a freak season. But you need competition. Competition keeps players on their toes, and what it also does is it allows you to rotate when you have to rotate, and when you need to rotate. Bringing in another striker this summer is something that Manchester United are going to do. I'm going to be very curious to see what the dynamic is and how the dynamic may change with Rasmus Højlund at the moment. Because obviously he had a very difficult start and struggled to score and took him a while to settle in. But now he is scoring. Now, between now and the end of the season, if he continues to bang in the goals and continue to put in really good performances, what's the dynamic going to be next season if we bring in... I don't think we're going to bring in an Ivan Toney. I think he's probably going to cost too much. And he's going to want to play every game possible next season. And does that hamper then Rasmus Højlund's development? And this is the dilemma. I think we're probably... And what I would probably like to see more than anything else is for us to bring in maybe another young striker. We've heard reports suggesting Benjamin Sesko could potentially be got for around 40 million. His release clause is such for RB Leipzig. And he's a similar age to Rasmus Højlund. And I think that's probably the best scenario, if you ask me. I think, bringing in somebody similar age to Rasmus Højlund and let them share the workload. If one is not scoring after a couple of games, then bring him out and put in the other one. And I think both would be happy then to play maybe 25 games a season each, and I think that would allow them to develop a lot more. It would take the pressure off them. We look at Rasmus Højlund at the moment, and all of the pressure is on him to score goals because he is the only striker that we've got fit at the moment. And it's big pressure. It's big pressure playing for a club for Manchester United and leading the line on your own. So when it comes to the striking situation, I would rather we bring in a young player like Rasmus Højlund, maybe like we mentioned, the Benjamin Sesko, to share the workload, and they can both play 25 games a season. I think it would take an awful lot of pressure off. And we've seen Erik ten Hag change formation this season, where I think you could easily play a Rasmus Højlund and a Benjamin Sesko together up front. So I think there are options there. I think the likes of an Ivan Toney, who's going to want to play every single game next season because he's at an older age, I think is probably not going to be beneficial to Manchester United and the likes of Rasmus Højlund in terms of his development, because we know the talent is there with him. So I would like to see another younger striker come in, share the workload with Rasmus Højlund and take a lot of the pressure off of each other, because I think both would score a lot of goals then as well. I really, really do. Let's see what people are saying here. Let me just take down that number there. Oshin says, Neverworld says, it would take pressure off the lad because would Toney want to be first choice striker? Toney will want first team football, and I imagine European football. Toney will probably stay in London and go to Arsenal, in my opinion. Yeah, you would never know. I mean, the Arsenal links are absolutely the strongest links when it comes to Ivan Toney. And I think Arsenal would be serious if they don't win the league this year, which I don't think they probably will. I think getting Ivan Toney next season with another couple of signings, I think Arsenal are going to be a major threat. I really, really do. Moving it on, guys, I want to talk a little bit about Erik ten Hag, and reports coming out from Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News, and he states that Omar Barada would be the de facto kingmaker on any decision taking over Erik ten Hag's future. Sir Jim Ratcliffe does not want to intervene to determine Erik ten Hag's fate and intends to delegate to the football expertise of Barada. There's two sides to this now. First of all, I'm loving the fact that our owner, who's not a football expert, is just putting people in place to make the decisions, who are qualified and who are, the best in class to make these decisions. We've been crying out for this for 10 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left, of somebody to come in and just run the club properly in the different departments that need running. And I'm loving this. these reports coming out that Jim Ratcliffe is happy just to take a back seat. I'm the owner, and maybe the final decisions will be run through me, but he's certainly going to be taking the advice of the people put in place to make these decisions. Now, Omar Barada and Eric Ten Hag, what's going to happen between the two of them? We know the standards that Omar Barada have are quite high. And we've heard reports since he's been signed by Manchester United, if that's the way to say it, that when it comes to players specifically, that it's 2 seasons. If you do not perform in 2 seasons, you're moved on. That's the way he likes to operate. Now, when it comes to managerial positions, what way is he going to see Eric Ten Hag and his tenure there? Obviously, we know he had a very good first season, won a trophy, got to an FA Cup final and got us into top 4. This season, decimated with injuries. Football hasn't been that great, and we've dropped points to teams we shouldn't be dropping points to. However, the injuries, one arm tied behind his back, and the injuries have been to key players. They really have. Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez, the list goes on. Mason Mount obviously has been out for a long time as well. Even you could say the likes of Malacia, that we've got no cover at left back. We've seen Aaron Wan-Bissaka out at right back. We've seen centre backs. Harry Maguire has been injured. Varane has been injured. So there's been an awful lot of there's been an awful lot of setbacks to Eric Ten Hag. I think Omar Barada, from the little that I know about him, I think he will give Eric Ten Hag time. The majority of the reports coming out surrounding Eric Ten Hag in the last couple of weeks have been that he is going to get time and that there's no plans in place at the moment to sack him at the end of the season. Now, if he doesn't get Champions League football, and maybe if he doesn't win the FA Cup, is that going to change? We're going to have to wait and see. I mean, I know, look, personally, I like Eric Ten Hag. I like him as manager. I love the standards he sets. I love the type of football he's trying to play when we've got all players available. And I think he deserves time. I've said this multiple times. I think he deserves time. And I think it would be very harsh if we were to get rid of him. It's going to be a story that rumbles on between now and the end of the season. I mean, I cannot see a scenario where, if he doesn't get sacked at the end of this season, straight away, like literally straight away, FA Cup final, Louis van Gaal job, bang, you're gone, right? We have enough of you. We're moving you on and get someone else in. I think if that doesn't happen, then I think I think it's quite clear he's getting time. We know that he has been brought in and gotten, he's heavily involved in the planning of the pre-season tour, for example, of, the transfer window coming up and so on and so forth. So these are all positives for Eric Ten Hag. But we still do have to have a good end to the season. And I think the pressure will come on the less we win. Obviously this 5th place is kind of up in the air whether it's going to be a Champions League spot or not. And if we look at the Premier League table, I mean, there's not an awful lot in it. I'll put it up on the screen here, but there's absolutely not an awful lot in the race for top 4. It has to be said. Let me zoom in on it here for you. So, we're 6 points off of Spurs with 10 games to go. I mean, it's not a lot. It really isn't. Now, if you're talking Aston Villa, then you're putting another 3 points on that, 9 points. But Villa and Spurs have been wobbling lately. Ever since the turn of the year, Manchester United obviously went on that really good run where we were unbeaten up until what game was it? The game before Man City. Was it Fulham, I think? We were unbeaten up to that game. And Spurs and Aston Villa were wobbling a little bit. Now, they lost again last weekend when we were playing the FA Cup. So, or one of them drew. Spurs lost and Villa drew, I think. So, I mean, it's still a possibility. It really is. Now, it's going to be difficult. Manchester United need to have a pretty solid run in, but I think Aston Villa and Spurs have a more difficult run in than we do. So, look, it's still there for Manchester United mathematically. Whether we go on and do it remains to be seen. I reserve judgment at the moment. But for Erik ten Hag, I'm not going to say he has to get into top 4 or win the FA Cup, but he has to make a real good go at it. He really does. I mean, if we fall away between now and the end of the season and finish 6th or 7th, for example, I mean, we have to look in the other direction here. West Ham are only 3 points behind us, albeit we do have a game in hand. You know, it's tight in both directions. So we need to have a good end to the season if Erik ten Hag is going to, you know, be guaranteed to keep his job. Oshin says, every game now is a cup final for Erik ten Hag. Need to prove all the Erik ten Hag outers wrong. I just worry their minds are already made up. Yes, but I agree with you on that, Oshin. Their minds may be made up, but their minds might actually be made up that they're going to keep him for another season as well. So it's just something that we're going to be speculating between now and the end of the season. Neverworld says, honestly, they need to look at how much of a mess this has been for him and pass the benefit of the doubt. But as Oshin has just said, this is the final every week, or it's a final every week for him now. I would love Erik ten Hag to get time. Yeah, and I think the majority of United fans want Erik ten Hag to get time under the new Ineos structure. And you've got the fan channels that are Erik ten Hag out, but they've been every manager out, you know, since Ferguson left. Eventually we have to give somebody time. We've got to give one manager time to try and weed out the poor players within the dressing room, set standards, which I think Erik ten Hag is trying to do, and see where we can go from there. We've seen it work with Man City, with Pep Guardiola, with Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. We're now seeing it with Arteta at Arsenal. It works. It just works. It's been a very difficult season for Erik ten Hag with injuries, with poor performances, so on and so forth. There's a new structure coming in now. Give the man another season and see how he gets on under this new structure. Because I think if he's back properly, you know, with a director of football, with a CEO who are all behind him, all pulling into one direction, all trying to sign the right players, I think he can be successful. I really, really do. But finally, guys, a little bit of, to lighten it a little bit, I want to talk about this. Manchester United's away kit for next season has been leaked. Very, very similar to the, I think was it the 18-19? Let's have a look now. Manchester United 18-19 kits. Very similar to, let me have a look. Third. I think it was the third kit, was it? Yeah, it was the third kit. Yeah. Very similar to this. Let me see. Very similar to that one, which is, you can barely see it, but yeah, so I mean the similarities are, you know, it's quite similar. Obviously we've got the red. I like it. I have to say, I like it. I think it's a lovely kit, and the fact that it's the second kit, you know, that so it's going to be worn an awful lot. I like the Snapdragon logo. The one thing I don't like is the size of the Adidas crest. I don't like the size of the Adidas crest in comparison to the Manchester United crest. I mean, the Adidas crest is bigger by the looks of things, nearly. So that's the one little bit of criticism I would have on it. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful jersey. I really do. I like the red coming down the sides here. I like the red neck on it as well. It's a lovely kit. And there is the M design as well. So we've got the M, obviously, for Manchester United all the way around it. I think it's a really nice kit. But yeah, the Snapdragon logo is nice. I have to say, I like it. But yeah, Oshin says, yeah, the size of the Adidas crest is mad. Absolutely. Neverwell says, I do like that too. I would love another solid blue kit with the white collars and cuffs. Yeah, and do you know what I'm desperate for? All right, and I'll show you. Let's see. I am desperate for another. I'm desperate for another black jersey. I'm desperate for another black jersey. I really am. Let me see, can I find it? Yeah, the black Vodafone. I know the image is not the best now, but that black Vodafone jersey, was just 2005 was absolute quality. Have we had a black jersey since then? I don't know if we have, actually. I could be completely wrong. We did have the one sec. We did have the. Let me see if I can find it. I suppose we did. Technically, we did, but it's not the. It's not the. We had that one, but yeah, it's not black. It's like black and grey kind of. Yeah, I would love to see another all black jersey like that. But yeah, anyway, nice little light way to finish the live, guys. We have had, hadn't we, with AIG? AIG. Let me have a look. Man United black kits. Chevrolet one is the last. Oh, AIG, we did. That was two. Yeah, we did. Oh, did we have one? I see Bruno Fernandes here wearing one. Oh, we did. We had one with Chevrolet, all black. Let me show you this one. And the orange crest. Remember that one? That was a nice jersey as well. Very nice jersey, that. Yeah, I like the black jersey. Oh, sorry, I want to show you that one. Very nice jersey. So yeah, I like the black ones. I'd love to see another black jersey come true. But I'm certainly happy with that one. It's a lovely. It'd be interesting to see what the third kit is. If they go white with the third kit again, or whether they go black maybe this time. You never know. But we'll find out sooner, hopefully, rather than later. But guys, thanks for watching. Please smash a like on the video on your way out if you haven't done so. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. We are absolutely flying it in terms of the subscriber count. It just continues to go and go and go. I think we're, let me see, we're less than 500 away from 10,000 subscribers, 9,501 subscribers. So it's brilliant. It's absolutely after exploding I'm after getting 2,000 new subscribers in the last 6 days, which is absolutely crazy. So if you're new, welcome. Thanks for joining. Please jump into the chat and say hello anytime you're in. Leave a comment under it if you're watching the channel back. I'll be back tonight, guys, from 8 o'clock. I will be live tonight. I apologise about last night. I wasn't around. But I will be back tonight from 8 o'clock. We'll do a full in-depth news show, as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you tonight. Take it easy.